So I'm not really sure where to start, so I guess I'll just start at the very beginning. My diabetic body comes from a long line of diabetic bodies, with my earliest experiences of diabetes being in vitro. I was the youngest attendee at my grandmother's funeral, as my mother was 6 months pregnant. I'm told that my grandmother was a strong, proud, and community-minded woman. The people from her village would come to her home for huge pots of red pea soup and her counsel. She was mourned deeply. After many years of elevated blood sugars, this powerful woman lost the battle with diabetes, or sugar, as it's called in Jamaica. I learned that diabetic bodies can be deadly. My diabetic body was formed by another diabetic body. My mother's pregnancy was difficult. Struggling with out-of-control blood sugars and grief, her doctor recommended that she terminate her pregnancy. She refused. She would do anything to make sure I was born. There are no memories of my childhood and adolescence where my mother's diabetes is not present. I'm watching from the crack in the door. She's in her room. She's trying to be private about it. She's protecting us from seeing her inject the insulin. I learned the many responsibilities and sacrifices of a diabetic body. I remember being terrified. I vowed that I would never poke myself with a needle, but I was wrong. I didn't know this till much later, but I was on a road, and this road led to diabetes. It was a road paved with emotional trauma, disappointments. I imagined I was someone who had everything organized, ignoring pub nights of vodka on the rocks, cram sessions for social work exams, a marriage to a man that wasn't me. Am I straight? Am I getting enough sleep? Was I destined to repeat the cycle? I avoided hearing the answer to this question for many years. But at age 28, I could run no further. With a new partner's support, I got tested. I had diabetes. This is not where the story of my diabetic body ends. This is where it begins. I have often said that the day I was diagnosed was one of the best days of my life. And that's true. At least it was eventually. Sitting in a small, sterile office, my white doctor talks statistics about black bodies and diabetes. You know you have a family history, he says, and coupled with lifestyle choices, blah, blah, blah. I tuned out and tuned back in. I'm sorry, Tenniel, but you have diabetes. These were the words I'd feared so much for so long. Is it possible to change this, I asked. I vehemently resisted the finality of this statement the same way I did with most statements of you can't from white people. Pills and needles, this could not be my fate. I learned that my diabetic body had determination. My diabetic body was about to change, but first I had to convince my heart and mind. But how? I didn't know where to start. I couldn't tell my mothers and sisters I'd failed. I didn't know how to eat healthy. Salads, chickpeas, brown rice, stuff that had no taste. That was white people food. Working out, lifting weights, terrible for your hair and you look too masculine. I was no Serena Williams. Black girls like me don't do fit. So I searched. I read. I questioned. I modified advice from white sources to make sense for black lives. I was sent to the dietitian and couldn't find any food on the Canada Food Guide from my culture. So I started to think about ital food from Jamaica, steamed fish, kalaloo, green banana. I took advice, pulled my resources, and gathered my supports. I have opportunities my grandmother, mother, and aunties did not. I have a doctor who has provided me with information about what diabetes is and how to live with it. I know how to lift weights and run. But my family's experiences, as well as my own, helped me overcome my guilt and motivated me to find my cure. My diabetic body is on a mission. 1 year later, sitting in that same sterile doctor's office, I sat patiently waiting to hear the outcome of the latest tests. I'll never forget. A smile came over his face. Your blood sugars are completely normal. What have you been doing? I was so proud I could scream. I am now a health and wellness educator, yoga teacher, and vegan. I dance, play soccer, bike, and swim. These are not white things. I am the representation that I craved so much in those early days. This is my life, my family, and my story. Tell me yours.